of the things I've always liked about Asteroids is the way you move around the screen is a little unique. As I apply force by firing my engines in the spaceship, even when I stop, I continue to move in that direction. The best way to stop is to actually turn around and face the other direction. This is pretty unique, but it's also using a very important principle of motion. Sir Isaac Newton was the first one to really describe this for us, and it's called inertia. It goes like this. If you're in a vacuum, like space, as you move in one direction, you'll continue to move in that direction unless some other force is applied in some other direction. Of course, this is very contrary to how we actually experience the world, but that's mostly because we have things like wind resistance. So as we move through the world, we have friction by running into the wind, and it slows us down. However, if we were in space, and we were in the spaceship in Asteroids, if we started moving in one direction, we would continue to move in that direction forever unless some other force moved us to stop us. All that being said, in our game of Asteroids, at least in the beginning, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to see right now I am pressing the up key and I'm pressing the left and right key. Left and right is going to steer me. The up key is going to move me. And the minute I let go of the up key, I stop moving. So this is going to be the first difference between our game of Asteroids and the real game of Asteroids. It also means that we're not taking into account inertia. Well, we can do it in Scratch, but it's kind of complicated and it involves some pretty intense math. So we're going to come back to it maybe at the very end for people who really want to be true to the game, the original game. But for now, we're going to create this sort of movement with our player character. So we have at least two objectives for this video. First off, we're going to program our spaceship to move to our keyboard commands and fly around the screen. Second thing is that we are going to program the ship to pop back on one side of the screen after it leaves another. This is actually much more like the original game of Asteroids, although it's not very much like things would be in real life. It does make the game a lot more fun and a lot more interesting though, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is pretty much what we have so far. We have our sprite. When we press the green flag, it runs through its costumes, animating its thrusters in the back. We did that with this simple line of code saying that when we click the green flag forever, this loop that we created, we want to wait 0.1 seconds and then we want you to switch to the next costume. And that will happen over and over again. So it'll switch a costume, it'll wait 0.1 seconds, and repeat forever. And that's how we get this. We're going to add a few more lines of code this time around. First off, let's make it so that we can actually move our spaceship around the screen. I'm going to go back into events, and I like to add new buttons for when green flag is clicked for different things, just so it's not quite so much going on at once. And we're going to need at least two of these today. Next, I'm going to go ahead and yank this off here for a second, and I'm going to add one more line of code, and I'm going to say go to, this is under the motion category, an X of 0 and a Y of 0. This means that whenever I press the green flag, the spaceship will start back in the middle of the screen. This will make things just a little bit easier for us. Next, because we want these keyboard commands to always make the ship turn or move in a certain direction, we're going to go again and grab another forever loop. So I'm going to go to Control and grab a forever loop. And while I'm still in here, I'm going to grab this if-then statement. If-then statements are very popular in computer programming, and it's very simple. We're going to say that if something happens, then we want this other thing to happen. We're going to cause this second thing to happen with the first thing. And the thing that we want to happen is we want the ship to move. So let's think of it a little backwards. And we're going to go back to motion, and we're going to say move 10 steps. So we'll put that down here. So if something happens, which we haven't defined yet, we want you to move 10 steps. The thing that we want to happen is actually in the sensing category here. And it's this one right here. We're going to use it quite a bit because it senses when keys are pressed. So what I'm going to do is drag this, and it works out pretty well because Scratch is very smart, and they have made this shape right here to fit this shape right here. That indicates to us this will fit in there. So I'm going to move it up, and when I see that that shape is highlighted, I'm going to let go. So right now this reads that when the green arrow is clicked, forever, every single time, if the space bar is pressed, move 10 steps. That's close, but that's not exactly what I want, because I actually don't want the space bar to do that. I have another thing in mind for the space bar. You could probably guess what it is. I want the up arrow to move us forward. So now, if I press the green flag and I press the up arrow, I move forward in whichever way I'm facing. But that's it. I can't turn, I can only go forward, and I sort of get stuck here in the side. This is why I set it so that when I click the green flag, I go back to 0, 0, so I don't get sort of lost off the screen while I build the game. So if I press it again, I'm back to 0, 0. So, with that in mind, adding more of these shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to go back to control, and I'm going to grab another if-then statement. You have to be kind of careful about where you put it at this point. Actually, you don't have to be careful because it won't let you stick it down here outside of the forever loop. It needs to be inside of the forever loop. So the forever loop encapsulates both if-then statements because we want them both to happen forever when things go the way we want them to. So what I'm going to do is I could go back to sensing and grab one of these, or I could right click and press duplicate and drop it in here. But of course I don't want the up arrow this time, so let's go ahead and switch it to the left arrow. And when I hit the left arrow, I don't want to move 10 steps. I'm going to go back to motion. I want to turn 15 degrees, and we'll call that counterclockwise, kind of to the left. And we'll drop that in here. So now we have two if-then statements. The first one makes it so that when we press the up arrow, we move forward, whichever way we're facing. The second one says that when we press the left arrow, we should turn 15 degrees in the counterclockwise position. Let's try that. So now I can move. When I press the left arrow, I'm spinning. But, of course, I'm missing one thing, and that's the right turn. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to put the last key command in, and you should pause the video now and try and figure out how to make it so the right arrow turns us 15 degrees in a clockwise direction. Hopefully, this is what you came up with. It was very simple. I just had to basically duplicate this if-then statement. I changed this to right arrow, and I changed this block to the clockwise position. And now when I press the green flag, I can move in both directions. So we have basic movement. Let's go ahead and add that sort of teleporting feature that we saw in the beginning of the video. Before we do that, we need to understand the coordinate system of Scratch. You'll remember that I set it so that when I press the green flag, the ship goes to an X position of 0 and a Y position of 0, and you might have noticed that's in the very center of the screen. You might also notice on the bottom right hand side of the screen that the Scratch continually monitors the X and Y position of the mouse. That's very convenient for me. Because if I bring the mouse over here to the very edge, I can see that the largest X positions, and if we think of X, the X axis as going sort of left to right, the largest X position I can seem to get is just about 240. If I go back to the other side, I can see that I'm going to hit about negative 40. So my range is from negative 240 to 240. My Y range goes from 0 up to 180. And as you might have guessed, it goes down to about negative 180. Those are the ranges that I have to work with. So what I need to do is find a way to program it so that when the ship hits a certain X value over here, it automatically teleports over here. And when it hits a certain Y value up here, it'll automatically teleport to the Y value down here, and vice versa. So, like many things in this game, I want what's going to happen next to happen forever. every single time the ship hits this side, it'll pop to the other side. So I'm going to go back into control and grab a forever loop. And I'm going to go grab some more if-then statements. So I'm going to grab the first one and say if-then. And you'll recall for the first part of the if statement, I need something that fits into this shape. And I'm going to be comparing things. So I'm going to go into this operators category, which you could also think of as sort of the math category. It has things like plus, minus, multiplication, division. It has random number generators. It has things where you can compare values. And a lot of them fit that shape. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab this top one to compare values. Okay, so now we're saying if something is less than something else, then I want something else to happen. I'm going to go back to motion here. And these down here are very, very helpful. This X position, what it's going to do is it's going to tell Scratch where the current X position of this sprite is. Right now, it's at 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to put it in the first part of that inequality. And I'm going to say if the X position of this ship is less than, and you might think 240, but I'm going to say less than negative 235. It just works out better that way. So if the X position is less than negative 235, so that means if the ship is anywhere past right about here, right about this area, then I want to change the X value. So it's going to be negative 235. I want to change it to positive 235. So let's go over this one more time. If the X position of my ship gets smaller than negative 235, it's automatically going to be changed to positive 235. Let's give it a try. Something is not quite right. Let's see what's going on. Ah, I see what I've done. I had change X by. That is not what I'm looking for. I want to set X to. So I want to say I want X to become 235, not change by 235. Simple mistake. Let's try it now. Aha. Very good. Let's try it down here. Yep. So it works on this side just fine. But look what happens when I come over here. I'm just butting up against this invisible wall. So let's go ahead and figure out how to change it so that that works on both sides. I'm going to grab another if-then statement. And I'm going to right-click and duplicate. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to go back to operators. And this time I'm going to grab the greater than symbol, or operator rather. If the X position is greater than, and what do you think? Greater than 235. Then I want to set the X back to negative 235. Let's try this one. All right, works pretty good. So as I pop off one side of the screen, I pop up back on the other. But of course, it's not working for my Y direction yet. So I'm going to pause the video right now, and I'm going to solve the problem of the Y position. It's going to look very similar to this, and I want you to give it a shot too. Pause this video right now so you can give it a chance, and I'll come back with the solution. Okay, so I'm back, and I think I figured it out. At this point, when I go off any side of the screen, X or Y, I pop up on the opposite side of the screen. And if we look back at our code, I basically repeated what I had. I had to change a few things. I had to change the Y position. I had to change from X to Y position, and the numbers had to change as well. So we don't have negative 235 and 235 in the X and the Y value. It doesn't go that high. So I had to change it to negative 180 and positive 180. And then I had to change this from set X2 to set Y2. But for the most part, it followed the very same pattern. So in this video, we added movement to our player character, and we added a teleport effect that lets it fly from one side of the screen to the other, very much like the original Asteroids game. In doing so, we took our first real steps in some real programming here. So stay tuned to the next video and we will add some bullets and even maybe some asteroids.